Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with the final part of What If Naruto Had Thunder Breathing. So I want to make it clear, I'm going to be taking a short break, maybe less than a week. I just want to chill for a bit and a lot of stuff is happening IRL, so it's hard to balance videos and that stuff, but trust me, when I get back, I'll have a way better upload schedule. So yeah, 4 or 5 days and I'll be back. So with that all said, let's get right into the what if. So we're gonna pick up right where we left off last time with Naruto sheathing his blade after taking down Gato, and Naruto would start doing the same for all of Gato's henchmen he came across, showing no mercy, leaving the cave bloody. And Naruto went back to the village to announce to its people that, he took all of Gato's men down and the Leaf Village will be protecting them from now on. Of course, at first, they didn't believe him, but the same merchant that Naruto saved from Gato's thugs in the last part, he comes up and says if it was anyone, Naruto would have the ability to take Gato and his men down, but still they just wouldn't believe. And one of the old ladies that runs a flower shop said, "So are we supposed to forget Kaiser and about the sacrifices that he made for this town?" And for those who forgot, Kaiser is Inari's dad, well, technically his stepdad, but whatever. The merchant that stood up for Naruto responded again, "No, but this man had done so much for us. The least we can do is thank him, right?" And he turned to Naruto, to get an answer, but Naruto was long gone. He walked off a long time ago. He has no time to be standing around listening to their bickering, so he had a village to get back to, and so he did. Making it back to the Leaf in less than a day, actually in a few hours, since he was sprinting the entire way. Since during his training with the old man, his granddad, Naruto trained his legs a lot and could run for an entire day without getting tired. So when Naruto gets back to the village, immediately he goes to the Hokage's office. So he jumps across rooftops and enters the Hokage's mansion. And he enters the Hokage's office and surprisingly, he isn't there. Like, Hiruzen is nowhere to be seen. And Naruto was confused. He started looking around. Then eventually he went outside to search for him. And that's when he saw him walking around with Danzo talking about something. And Naruto quickly hid before either of the two knew he was there. And Naruto began eavesdropping on their conversation. Danzo said to Hiruzen, "Trust me, Sarutobi, you're like a brother to me. The village will be in good hands." And Hiruzen paused and said, "Okay, I'll be leaving it in your hands. Jiraiya has requested my presence at one of his hideouts. He says it's paramount to his investigation into the Akatsuki." And hearing this, Danzo couldn't hold back his smirk and said, yes, don't keep Jiraiya waiting. As you said, he needs you." And Hiruzen couldn't help but feel uneasy about Danzo's words, but he had no reason to suspect any foul play, so he gathered his gear and left everything to Danzo. It's only temporary though, sort of the role Kakashi played when Tsunade was down for the count, but nothing like, build a statue on the mountain thing, because he's not gonna be in, control for that long. Maybe like minimum 2 weeks, maximum a month. So Naruto would manage to escape the manor without being seen, which is clearly an easy thing to do since, Kid Naruto did it. I still can't get over the fact that one of the most important scrolls to the entire village's history was stolen by a kid without, using any special jutsu. Just pathetic. Anyways, the news of their new Hokage spread throughout the village, and many of the villagers were supportive of Danzo's new role since he was the one to open their eyes to the evil that is the Nine-Tails. So Naruto would return to the Hokage's office a day later, reporting to Danzo of, his mission success. And Danzo was actually confused why Naruto was going out on a mission by himself because, Hiruzen didn't tell him about Naruto's situation, but he'll have time to figure it out. It doesn't matter that much. So he just informs Naruto of the upcoming tuning exams, and if he were to pass, depending on his performance, he could be considered for the Jonin role. But in the meantime, he gave Naruto a headband since, he still doesn't have one. Naruto is technically still an academy student, but that doesn't really matter to Naruto since literally Naruto is a genin and became Hokage. We're just not going to talk about that. But yeah, Naruto, he gets to his training in, preparation for these exams. And he does it at one of the many training grounds in the village. And for days and days, he's mastering his swordsmanship on the logs, cutting into them and developing one of his own techniques actually. But that's easier said than done since Naruto doesn't even know how to do any of the other forms of thunder breathing. He doesn't know what's stopping him, but Naruto works on increasing the effectiveness at the form he does know, the first form, just in time for the Chunin exams. So a day before the exams, Naruto decided to change up the fit a bit, get some drip from the local village clothing store. They got some, Adodas, Mike, over armor, denim leans, you name it, they have it. But Naruto didn't go for any of the name brand stuff. He saw a robe that looked awfully familiar to one that his grandfather wore. And this would be a robe basically almost identical to the one Zenitsu is wearing. So just look on the thumbnail, that's basically what he's got on. And Naruto buys that and he's ready to take on the Chunin exams. So as Naruto is walking to the academy, he sees a group of sand ninja, bothering Konohamaru, and Naruto, he doesn't care, bro. He has no, he has no friendship with Konohamaru. Naruto could care less, to be honest. So he just walks past. Cold-hearted, yes, but after going through what Naruto has been through, going, basically a genocide of Gato and his entire, quote-unquote army. It wasn't really an army, but after killing that many people, anybody would change, to be honest. So Naruto, he just walks past and heads to the academy, and when he does, he sees this huge pileup at the entrance, and this just pisses off Naruto even more. But he just squeezes his way through and gets past everyone, and he's wondering why everyone's trying to push through to the wrong door. So he just goes upstairs because Naruto, he actually sees right through the genjutsu. He doesn't have to do release. He sees right through it. Especially some of these lower level jutsus. That's I don't know, what, D rank? You learned that in the academy, bro. So Naruto, he goes upstairs, and as he's about to enter the room for, the first stage, he gets called out by Lee. And Lee, he's looking for a fight, but Naruto, he just wants to get into the room, man. He doesn't want to be disturbed. So Naruto, challenges Lee, and he says, okay, yeah, you want to fight, but let's see who's faster first. And Lee, he's like, faster? You're trying to test me in speed? And Lee's like, alright, I'll take you up on that offer. So Naruto explains that it's just a simple, whoever reaches the end of the wall first, whoever touches the wall first. And Lee's like, oh, okay. And he's like, and if I win, I can just go about my business. And if I lose, I'll have to fight you. And Lee's like, oh, okay, then, get ready because you're gonna fight me. So they all line up at one side of the wall, and Tenten, she's looking at Neji like, what is he doing? And Neji, he shrugs like, bro, I don't know, Lee, he's insane sometimes. So on the count of 3, they shoot off, and Naruto, he doesn't even move while Lee, he's almost halfway there. And then Naruto, in a streak of lightning, he appears on the other side holding the wall before Lee was even halfway. And Lee, he was shocked, like, what even was that? And Neji, seeing this, he was amazed. He was using his Byakugan and he barely saw Naruto's chakra being utilized. That means he did that with a really low rank jutsu or no jutsu at all, which shouldn't be possible. That's just not... That's not how the human body works. Neji, he's having a hard time wrapping his head around this. And Tenten the same. Tenten doesn't even know what to even make of this. She blinked 1 second, Naruto was on this side of the wall. She blinked again and Naruto was over there. It's that clear. So Naruto is like, alright, see you, Lee. And he walks back into the room, and Lee tries stopping him to talk, what was that? Trying to get his training regimen. Maybe he would just give him Saitama's like 5,000 sit-ups. But yeah, Naruto, he gets into the first stage, and nobody is really looking at him. Naruto, he's sort of a nobody to these people. So he just sits in the corner and waits for Ibiki to come into the room. And, 5 minutes pass, and Ibiki is ready to get started. So all the rules for the first stage stay the same. Ibiki announces all of them to the class, making them expressly clear that cheating is not allowed, or, he's implying that if you get caught. I mean, he didn't outright say cheating isn't allowed, just if you get caught, you will be sent out. So, and he explains to them that they have a 10th question, but that will be given, after they finish up all of this. So, Naruto, he begins the exam, and for the first few questions, he actually doesn't have to cheat. Naruto, he just does it, and he's actually pretty decent at it, because these are things he would be doing, in actual battle. So, after Naruto gets past the first 5 questions, they're relatively easy, and 6 to 9 are getting progressively harder. Naruto barely manages to get 6, and 7 he's completely stumped. So Naruto, he does end up having to cheat, but Naruto doesn't have some elaborate way like making an eye out of sand or using mirrors. Naruto just does it the old-fashioned way. He just peeks over in his neighbor's answers and starts writing it down. And again, this is Hinata next to him. So Hinata wasn't overly hiding the page. And so Naruto, he could, easily see the papers. So after that's said and done, about 20% of the class is caught for cheating, so they are sent out. And by the end of it, Ibiki's like, okay, you guys got through that pretty well, but now is the 10th question. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, the 10th question, we can answer this, this is easy. And then he had the caveat of saying, but if you guys get this wrong, you will be barred from ever taking the Chunin exams. So you can either do it and risk it, or you can come back when you're more prepared. And this is where people were starting to have second thoughts. They were like, am I ready? They were second guessing themselves, and actually this slipped up a lot of people, leaving only 30% of the original students still in the class, because a lot got, persuaded by Ibiki's words. Leaving the same group as canon, Naruto and, all the Konoha 12. Well, it would be 11 since Naruto isn't really counted. But yeah. So after that, those mind games, Ibiki is actually impressed at the amount of people who weren't persuaded by it even more. And he, said to them there was no 10th question. It was just a logical deception. And people were, of course, pissed off by this, trickery. But they couldn't do much about it. But before Ibiki could even conclude the class, Inko? Oh my god, wrong universe. Anko, she burst through the window, sending glass shards flying all over the class, but all over Ibiki, and she dropped in and said, wow Ibiki, you got a lot of them to pass this year. But Ibiki wasn't having any of that small talk, and he started picking the glass out of his skin, and he said, just take them. And he walked out angrily, still picking out the glass, and she's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I guess. But she instructs everyone over to the Forest of Death, where they will be given instructions for the second stage of the Chunin exams. So all the teams make it over there, and while they're walking, Naruto, he's being eyed down by members of the Konoha 11, especially those who were in his class who know that he didn't take the graduation exams. And one of those being Sasuke, he was saying in his head, I thought he ran off or something, why is he here? Sasuke is just getting angry for basically no reason. He just hates Naruto in general. So they make it over to the Forest of Death, and Anko, she's on this little platform, and she begins explaining all of the rules and regulations for this stage, and she makes it expressly clear that killing is allowed. And hearing this, some people, they started to piss their pants, to be honest. They were scared. And actually one team dropped out because they were like, bro, I'm not risking my life for this. What? The ninja life? No thanks. I'll go be some, random villager. So those three drop out, and Anko is like, bunch of wusses. Anyways, you all come over here and gather your scrolls and head to your gates for, further instructions. So Naruto, he goes over and he takes a scroll for himself, and people are wondering why he's here by himself. They don't see him with a team. But no one is really saying anything because they know that in the Forest of Death, Naruto would just be an easy scroll for them, no matter like what type he has, even if it's not even the one they need. So Naruto, he goes to his gate and he's waiting there, for the further instructions Anko said. And then she heard Anko scream, "Go!" So Naruto, he knew he was ready, so he rushes in to the forest and he starts jumping from branch to branch. And as Naruto is going further to the center, he starts hearing screams, like people like screaming out in terror. So Naruto, he goes over towards the screams, maybe he could grab a scroll. And Naruto, he's seeing these two teams fighting. It's a Leaf Genin team going up against a team from the Sand Village. And, this is, any random team from the Sand Village. They're not really that important. Neither are the Leaf Genin team. So Naruto, he's waiting out, waiting for the victor. And then he, looks down on them. And the Sand team came out victorious. And he's looking, he has the Heaven Scroll. So Naruto, he sees 2 Earth Scrolls, so those guys were unlucky, but Naruto, this is his time to drop in. So he jumps down from the tree branches, and when the 3 teams see him, they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy, easy work, let's go." But Naruto, he takes out his blade, and these guys start to get hesitant because Naruto, he may not be strong, but with a sword, he could actually do some damage, but they run in anyways, and as they get close to Naruto, he crouches down and takes his signature stance, and then he exhales, and in a flash of lightning, he goes to all 3 of the members and strikes them down, cutting off their legs and leaving them there out to bleed out and die. So Naruto, he gets back on his journey with, 3 scrolls, 2 of them being Earth and 1 Heaven, and he starts jumping to the mansion. And Naruto, he doesn't have any time to waste, so he's going straight there. He's not stopping for anything. But as he's getting closer, Naruto, he's hearing these screams, like some serious fighting is going on, and he wants to get to the mansion, by that day alone. But the curiosity got the better of him, and he deviated from his path. And he started jumping from branch to branch, getting closer to these, strange noises. And when Naruto does, he sees this person tied up to a tree, and Sasuke, about to send a fireball from the string to this person tied up. So Naruto, he's just sitting there watching this fight go along, and this is just Sasuke versus Orochimaru. So just imagine that fight. Sasuke, he's actually doing some damage, but after he launches that fireball at Orochimaru, he isn't playing around anymore. And he binds Sasuke with his neck, wrapping around him and a tree, and then he sinks his teeth into Sasuke's neck, giving him the curse mark. And this made Sasuke fall unconscious, and he fell off the branch, landing on the ground. And Sakura, she's also knocked out, and Naruto, he's like, "Damn, not my problem though," and he gets on his way to the mansion. Naruto, as I said, he has the speed of Usain Bolt, but he can, maintain it for miles. So he makes it to the center of the Forest of Death within minutes, really. And then he enters it and opens both the scrolls, and, nothing happens because no real sensei is assigned to Naruto, so he just gets nothing. And he just has to wait for everyone to arrive. And this wait is excruciatingly long since Naruto just has nothing to do, just walk around the empty corridors, just sleeping on the hard brick until the next day when people finally start showing up. And one of the first teams to show up was Gaara's team. And Naruto, he's actually been interested in Gaara since he's seen them, the first time he saw him in the streets messing with Konohamaru. But Naruto, he keeps to himself and just waits until everyone arrives, and then they all get shuffled into this massive, fighting area for the preliminary exams. And instead of Hiruzen, overseeing it, it's Danzo. And he's saying how, there are too many members here, so he's going to have to shorten the batch. And by doing this, this is where the idea of the preliminary exams, came about. All the matches in the preliminary exams go almost 1-to-1 with canon, But something I should mention before we get into these fights is what happened with Sakura and Sasuke while they were just laying on the ground. Well, Sasuke, when he woke up, he was under the influence of the curse mark, and we all remember how that went. He woke up and chose violence, so he started attacking anything around him, and that being Sakura. So yes, Sasuke killed Sakura. And I know most of you will be delighted to hear that, when some Sakura stans will actually hate me for doing that, but hey, that's just how it turned out. I'm not a Sakura hater, well, I kinda am, but that's just how the story turned out, bro. Don't blame me when I'm the one literally coming up with the story. But yeah, we don't talk about that. But anyways, back to the preliminary exams, and yeah, major changes are Ino, she moves on to the finals, and Naruto, he mops the floor with Kiba. I'm talking, the match is done within a second. You blinked and you would miss it. That's how quickly Naruto took this man's down. And Akamaru, bruh, he stomped him out. Okay, that's kind of too far. I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, he beats the both of them, and this would move on to the 1 month break they get between the second and third stage of the Chunin exams, just to, get stronger a bit, maybe develop a new technique. So some of you may be wondering what Danzo is up to. Well, he's up to no good, of course. He's been meeting with the Kazekage, which sounds pretty innocent if you ask me. But remember, Orochimaru is disguised as the Kazekage, and the both of them are plotting an attack against the Leaf. But this isn't just, those two. Orochimaru at this point is still a member of the Akatsuki. Well, I mean, in canon he isn't, but in my canon he is. And Danzo sent Hiruzen to be ambushed by the other members of the Akatsuki, which is only Pain, Konan, Itachi, Deidara, and Sasori. So all Danzo had to do was forge that letter by Jiraiya, and it was that easy, to be honest. So to spare you guys the gruesome details, after a hard fight and trying to use Monkey King Enma, the Reaper Death Seal, every single jutsu he has, Hiruzen is unfortunately killed. So during this 1 month training period, Jiraiya would return to the village, and like normal, he would report to Hiruzen in his office. But when he went to Hiruzen's office, he was met with a surprise. It was Danzo sitting in his chair, and at first, Jiraiya was thinking the worst. Maybe this was a coup, maybe Danzo killed Hiruzen, which he technically did. But he said, well, the seat was given to me by Hiruzen. He went off on a business trip. And Jiraiya was like, huh? A business trip? That doesn't even make sense. But, Danzo, he sweet talks his way out of it like he does most things. And Jiraiya, he has, nothing much to say because he doesn't want to talk to Danzo. He has his suspicions about Danzo, so he doesn't want to be talking to him or anything. But Jiraiya stayed around in the village just in case anything were to happen. So during this 1 month, Naruto, as I said, he would be working on this technique, this new form of the thunder breathing that he's making for himself. And he would do that basically almost every day. He would just go to the training grounds, do his routines, go home, eat, sleep, repeat, you know the works. So this 1 month break would go by very, very quickly, leaving Naruto, he just went to the third stage of the Chunin exams, the massive arena with all his other opponents. And Naruto, he's just standing there, and the first matchups, he's going to be starting off strong. It's Naruto versus Gaara. So Naruto would lean heavily into this rule of, killing is allowed. Even though it's, one of their allies, Naruto, he can sense something ominous within Gaara. And this is basically the Nine-Tails link with Shikaku. And as the match starts, Gaara starts going on this massive monologue about how he wants Naruto's blood to give to his mother. He's talking like really weird, but Naruto, he's trying to focus on his breathing because he needs to be quick because he knows Gaara's sand defense is fast. But, I mean, if we're being realistic, it's not faster than Naruto. But, he's trying to be prepared for anything. So he focuses on just his heart rate, his breathing patterns. And as Gaara's monologue comes to a close, he starts, realizing that Naruto, he isn't even focusing. So he gets mad and starts, throwing sand towards Naruto. And this is when Naruto uses his first form, Thunderclap and Flash, sixfold. He bounces around, dodging all of Gaara's sand attacks, and then he makes a final thrust towards Gaara, moving his sword across, cutting through his neck, and then, appearing behind Gaara with his head pointed down and his sword to his side, dripping with blood. And Gaara, his head flies off and lands on the ground, and it just falls over. And, all the sand, they're just looking on in shock. Kankuro and Tamari, they're looking, their jaws are to the ground. They can't believe it. They're in shock. And so is everyone else, especially Orochimaru, because that was supposed to be his trump card. And now the one-tail Shikaku is dead, and he has to wait like 2 more years for it to reform. And those are 2 years he doesn't have. So Orochimaru curses the entire plan because everything is just falling apart, and then he turns to Danzo and said, I've been meaning to betray you anyways. You weren't of any use to me. And then a sword started coming out of Orochimaru's mouth, and then he started cutting Danzo up, almost, similar to Naruto, but he was using the sword to keep on killing Danzo, but he kept on using the eyes on his arms to revive. But, while they were fighting, the sand, all their ninjas came out and started fighting with all the other leaf ninjas. And this was just turning into chaos and confusion. None of the plans were going into motion. People were fighting, anyone around them. And the Akatsuki, who was waiting on standby, was watching this utter chaos and was just wondering what to even do. Jiraiya, who was luckily in the village, he came to a lot of people's aid, and with the help of his summonings, he drove away some of the sand ninjas. But he still had a lot more work to do. And this is where all the members of the Akatsuki appear in the arena, with some of, the Leaf's Jonin as well as Naruto, and Jiraiya, who's on his way over. So this battle was heavily in the Akatsuki's favor, with people like Kakashi. They're not as strong as their Shippuden counterparts since Kakashi just doesn't have the Mangekyo, but still they put up a good fight, and when Jiraiya arrives, Naruto, Kakashi, and Jiraiya are the main forces taking down some of the weaker members. They're not weak, but compared to everyone else in the Akatsuki, they are weaker. And after taking down Deidara and Sasori, the Leaf team, they were, dreading fighting Itachi, but that's when he just switched sides because, Itachi, he's about the Leaf. He doesn't want to see the Leaf's downfall. So seeing all of this chaos, he has a change of heart and decides to, fight for the Leaf. So it's them against the Paths of Pain, and they managed to take down some of the paths. It was not easy at all, but they managed to do it. And Naruto, he looks towards the main Path of Pain, the Yahiko Pain, with an angry expression and extends his hand in front of Jiraiya, saying, "Don't worry, leave this to me." And Jiraiya was going to argue, but Naruto's strength is undeniable, so Naruto unsheathed his sword and Pain started taunting him, and he said, "You really think you can take me?" But Naruto, he stayed quiet. And Pain said, "Well, you die here." And as he was about to throw a barrage of chakra rods towards Naruto and the other members of the Leaf, the clouds above them began to converge and a lightning charged up, and Naruto raised his swords toward the sky and a massive lightning bolt struck the tip of his sword. And Naruto says, "Kurama, I know you're in there, you damn fox. Rent is due and I accept your chakra." And his sword began to turn blood red, and when the lightning stopped, the sound of thunder was like a bomb going off, and Naruto's eyes were now like flash with streaks of lightning shooting off in them. And this pushed everyone back, this immense pressure from Naruto's newfound power. And Jiraiya had to use his hair and grab Kakashi, Guy, and some other Jonins back to a safe distance from Naruto. And an electric dragon started to form around Naruto, and his usual lazy, sleepy demeanor was now angry, and Naruto started running towards Pain, surrounded by this red electric dragon. And Naruto said, "Thunder breathing, 7th form, flaming thunder god." And Naruto disappeared from everyone's vision and reappeared behind Pain with his head down and his sword covered in blood. Meanwhile, Pain looked down in shocked and coughed up blood, and his head fell off his body. It dropped and Pain was instantly killed. His body and head started to disappear into dust, and Kakashi and the others were completely lost for words. But they saw Naruto collapse, and Kakashi and the others quickly ran towards Naruto, but then something unexpected happened. Naruto's body began to move, but he was still sleeping. Naruto took out his blade and started swinging it around, nothing dangerous. He wasn't swinging it hard or anything, so he wasn't a danger to anyone, but Jiraiya had to restrain him. Later on, Naruto woke up unable to move in a hospital bed and with a tear in his eye. He said, "If this is the price to pay for peace, I accept it." And that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. And if you like the movie, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.